Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Stephanie Mosqueda. It's Monday, June 3rd. Coming up, we'll learn more about how newly arrived asylum seekers are adapting to life in Chicago. That story in just a few minutes. But first, these headlines. A meeting between veterans and 13th Congressional District Representative Nikki Budzinski turned from public to private over the weekend. IPM's May Antar reports the meeting changed after demonstrators made an appearance.
Pro-Palestinian groups say they came to the meeting to show support for American troops and question Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski on relevant issues for veterans, active duty military, and the war in Gaza. But the Congresswoman didn't make a public appearance, and the meeting was made private. Meg Miner is a retired Air Force veteran who came to hear the panel and questioned Budzinski about her stance on Israel. Budzinski's staffers came out to speak with her and others.
They laid the blame on people like me, who came here with questions, but absolutely with the desire to hear the perspective of the women who have demonstrated, I am sure, their courage in many other ways, but also speaking in front of an audience and telling personal stories is also a very courageous act, and it feels disrespectful that they didn't have the opportunity to do so.
Budzinski's staff said the veterans made a collective decision to make the panel private. U.S. Army veteran Christina Schauer said she wanted the discussion to be private so the woman would feel more comfortable being more candid.
Statistically, 1 in 3 women who use the VA report military or sexual trauma, and we've got 5 women. So statistically, there's at least one person in this group that might have a story that they're not comfortable sharing in front of a large crowd. So,
pro-Palestinian groups have met with Budzinski 3 times, but walked out of last week's meeting. They wanted to pressure Democratic lawmakers to pull political and financial support for Israel. May Antar, IPM News.
U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says he's not concerned about the impact on the November election of the guilty verdict in former President Donald Trump's trial. During a visit to Peoria on Saturday, Johnson said the Trump campaign saw record numbers of donations after the verdict announcement.
These are low-dollar donors online, but a vast number of people who are giving for the first time because they're motivated. So I think this backfires fantastically on the Democrat Party.
A New York jury found Trump guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business documents last Thursday. Republicans have called the verdict a, quote, sham and targeted. Johnson says he anticipates an appeal to the Supreme Court to overturn the verdict. Children in foster care will now have a say in how they choose to wear their hair, thanks to a new bill. Anna Savchenko has more.
State Senator Mike Simmons sponsored the bill. He said it's designed to give Black children in foster care the agency to wear their hair in whatever style they want.
So many young people, particularly those that are of African descent, have not been allowed to wear their hairs in ways that honor their heritage and their ancestry and their agency. And this legislation ensures that they have that human right.
Under the legislation, which is awaiting the governor's signature, children will develop their own hair care plan, together with their foster parents and caseworker. It will include styling, cutting, and even hair dyeing. Costs for hair care will be covered by the Department of Children and Family Services. I'm Savchenko, WBEZ News.
The state budget approved by Illinois lawmakers would give more funding to quantum computing research and study. Jade Marceau has more.
Quantum computers allow faster and more advanced calculation that would be difficult to produce on a regular computer, like calculation on atoms. The budget gives $500 million to support the development of a regional campus at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says he's already talked with companies about locating portion of their work on this campus.
The other part is a campus that is hyper unusual. There really are only a couple places in the country that have even thought about doing this, and we're way ahead in terms of trying to actually get something done.
Pritzker also says some of these funds match federal dollars. I'm Jade Marceau.
Still to come, we'll learn more about how newly arrived asylum seekers are adapting to life in Chicago. That story is coming up next on 217 Today.
This week on the 21st Show, a deep dive into addiction, overdose, and fentanyl.
We're seeing more than 112,000 people dying every year in the United States.
We'll talk about the history, politics, treatment, and prevention of opioid abuse and fentanyl. I'm Brian Mackey. That's all this week on the 21st Show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Stephanie Mosqueda. Many migrants in Chicago are getting married, having babies, joining churches, and sending the children to local schools. But that's not the end of their journey. Adriana Cardona Magicad takes us to two neighborhoods where newly arrived asylum seekers are adapting.
That's a good one.
On a recent afternoon, Luz Marina Niño, an asylum seeker from Venezuela, is celebrating that she just got a new job cleaning at a hospital. This is a huge deal for Niño. She just got a work permit and she doesn't have to go back to the fish market where she peeled shrimp for less than the minimum wage. Niño has been living in a 2-bedroom apartment in the integrated Beverly neighborhood with her son Jose and other relatives. 2 nuns from the Sisters of Mercy are among Niño's guests, along with Carol Conway. She's a retired English teacher and is Niño's mentor. Conway brought pizza and dessert.
Sure you don't want cake to go? Or?
These 3 women have become a network of support for Niño. They are from Catherine's Caring Cause, a nonprofit that helps migrants navigate many aspects of life in Chicago. They found the apartment where Niño has lived. They've also paid for her rent. Before that, Niño stayed at a migrant shelter where she felt unsafe. As her mentor, Conway helped Niño find immigration services and has stepped in when Niño needs to advocate for her son at school.
I hope Luz feels comfortable asking me some question that, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find it because there's a lot of things I don't know, but. So
Niño is petite and quiet. She doesn't speak English, and she's getting used to the culture here.
Sí, cuando he ido a las tiendas, por ejemplo, más que todo cuando me toca.
Niño says when she's at the store and has to pay, she can't understand the final amount. She shows the cashier her bills, asking, "This much? This much?" She wonders about her future here. Niño says, okay, yes, they're here, they made it, but what's going to happen tomorrow?
Ya por fin llegamos, ahora qué viene, si de verdad nos vamos a adaptar o no nos vamos a adaptar.
Are they going to be able to adapt?
Sí, los niños
Maybe
se van a
little by
adaptar.
little, she says. Now that she's finding stability, her next goal is learning how to speak English. That's a priority for a lot of migrants.
Muy bien. Now, city, todos vivimos in the city of Chicago. Now, county, todos vivimos, I think we live in el condado de Cook.
In Belmont Cregan, on Chicago's northwest side, about 5 migrants are registering for English classes at Onward, a community organization that offers education and support services. One of them is Elizabeth, an asylum seeker from Ecuador. She didn't want to give her last name.
Tal vez mi niño el pequeño aprenda más el idioma inglés y no pueda comunicarme con ellos.
She worries that her kids will learn to speak English before her, and she won't be able to communicate with them.
Metiendo a las clases de inglés.
She's determined to learn. The integration and adjustment process for immigrants is different for everyone, says Andrés Albarracín.
Cada persona vive su proceso migratorio de manera diferente.
He's a case manager at Onward. He educates migrants on how to avoid getting in legal trouble, anything from how to drive carefully, follow the rules, and other important topics about relationships, including consent.
Y pues en las reuniones, eso sí me gusta mucho ir en las reuniones.
Elizabeth's son is a first grader at nearby Hanson Park Elementary. She attends parents' meetings and enjoys learning about the education system in Chicago. She's also starting to understand a few more words in English at the fast food restaurant where she works, like the word maybe.
Es como el maybe. Y yo no sabía qué era.
At first, she thought people kept referring to a baby.
Yo pensé que se refería a un bebé.
Then she realized it meant perhaps.
Y ya poco a poco ya lo iba a escuchar.
She says many migrants don't speak the language out of fear of making mistakes, but to her, that's the key to adapting. Adapting also means getting out and making friends, she says. She's found a church and loves taking her kids to the park and grabbing ice cream. Adriana Cardona-Maguigad, WBEZ News.
And finally, in your forecast, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard says it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 87 degrees. That's it for today. 217 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by May Antar, Ryan Denham, Anna Savchenko, Jade Marceau, and Adriana Cardona-Maguigad. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. 217 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.